Medium man, physical medium man, physical medium man. What'd you buy? Was it something good?
What's up, guys? Physical Media Man back here again for another Physical Media Man Monday video. I think I'm going to make this two parts, but I did get in 31 movies during the month of October for 31 days of Halloween. I did fall asleep during really like 3 movies, I think, at least. One of them I didn't even really watch. But I'm still saying I did it. I do need to go back and watch, spoiler, I guess, somewhat. One of the last ones I watched was House of Dracula, and it's only like an hour and like 6 or 7 minutes, and I slept through that whole thing. So anyways, before I get started, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, leave feedback, do a lot of good stuff down below. I'll leave the links to my Instagram page, my Physical Media Man Store Instagram page, my Facebook page for the Physical Media Man / Physical Media Man Store, my Facebook page for non-media related items, Hodgepodge Garage, my email, my eBay, my Twitter, and my Letterboxd account. So yeah, this is at least the third year, I think, that I've kind of try to do this 31 days of Halloween and watch as many scary or Halloween movies as I can during the month of October. I've had a lot of fun doing this these last few years. It's not one of my favorite genres, but I've really enjoyed a lot of these first-time watches the last few years. So thanks especially to my wife this year for watching quite a few. She really doesn't like them. But she really helped me get on a good pace watching quite a few the first week or so of October. I tried to tone those back and be less scary and ones that I thought she would enjoy. And I'll probably discuss that a little bit, and then also shout out to Cody, a friend of the show. Got together with him at least 3 days during the month of October, and we knocked out at least 10 or 12 together probably. So he was on an incredible pace. I think he got over 62 movies in, so which is pretty unbelievable. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get started. First up, my wife and I, we watched My Best Friend is a Vampire. Bought this part of the Vestron line. It sounded like a lot of fun. It had a decent rating. So I figured I'd go ahead and grab it. It's 1988. So it says, return to Milton High School in this beloved 80s teen comedy, now available on Blu-ray for the first time. Shortly after high school student Jeremy Capello, played by Robert Sean Leonard. She's not on the back. But it's, if you watched House, he's like the other main doctor. That kind of bickers with House a little bit, but is also a really good doctor. He's been in some other things too, but he's obviously supposed to be a high schooler in this one, so this is early on. He goes on a hot date. He finds he can't stand garlic and can't see his reflection in mirrors, but he can make a delicious raw steak shake. As maniac vampire hunter Professor MacArthur stakes him out, Jeremy just wants to pursue his high school crush. So yeah, I thought this was quite a bit of fun. I think I was hoping it was going to be a little better than I liked it, but I'll give it 2.5 stars, and I do plan on keeping it at least for the time being. Next up, I didn't have a physical copy of it, and I don't plan on getting one. I really dislike this one. Next up, I watched Ginger Snaps. This has a Scream Factory release. A lot of people really like this movie, but I really disliked it. I didn't think the characters were likable at all. Follows a set of sisters that are really close, and they're in high school together, and no one really likes them. It kind of starts out, and they're like doing photography of like fake deaths and weird things. But somehow a werewolf thing happens, and it affects them. I just didn't really like it, just giving it a 1 star. I'm glad I didn't have a copy of it. So next up, another one that now has a Scream Factory. I don't know if it did before I bought this or not, but we got The Faculty with Josh Hartnett. Also, great cast in this one. It's directed by Robert Rodriguez. You got Jordana Brewster, Clea Duvall, Laura Harris, Josh Hartnett, Sean Hattasey, Famke Janssen, Robert Patrick, Usher, Jon Stewart, Elijah Wood. So casting's really good in this one. Follows another group of high school students, and something weird happens, and creepy things start happening around school. They make a chilling discovery that confirms their worst suspicions. Their teachers really are from another planet. As mind-controlling parasites rapidly begin spreading from the faculty to the student bodies, it's ultimately up to the few who are left, an unlikely collection of loners, leaders, nerds, and jocks to save the world from alien domination. And Jordana Brewster was in Fast and Furious. Oh yeah, it's Mia from Fast and Furious. I forgot. It's been a little bit. This was October 5th when I watched this, but really enjoyed this. Thought it was really well done. I think I'm somewhat tempted to upgrade to the Scream Factory. That's how much I liked it, but I think I'm just going to keep the regular old Blu-ray I have, giving it 3 stars. Next up was, so I watched that one by myself. This one I watched with my wife. Watched this quite a few times in high school and really enjoyed it. So you got from the producers of Underworld, we got The Covenant. And I really like this one, like I said, and was really looking forward to revisiting it and hope it held up, and I think it did hold up pretty well. Excuse me. I'd say it's somewhat has a feel of Twilight, but I think it's a little more well done and more enjoyable. So it says, to the students of the Spencer Academy, the sons of Ipswich are the baddest boys on campus, but that's not all they are. The 4 friends also share a 300-year-old secret. They are warlocks, the teenage descendants of a 17th century coven of witches. So when the long-banished 5th son suddenly appears and threatens to kill their loved ones, they realize they must face their enemy in order to prevent him from stealing their powers and shattering the covenant forever. But yeah, I thought this held up really well. Really happy to have it in the collection. Giving it 3 stars as well. Next up, another one I watched with my wife. She had never seen this and didn't really know the story too much, surprisingly. But this is directed by Tim Burton. We got Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci, and Sleepy Hollow. Also a good supporting cast. Miranda Richardson, Michael Gambon, Casper Van Dien, Jeffrey Jones. Also has music by Danny Elfman. So it's the story of the Headless Horseman. Christopher Walken is in it as well. Great acting. As others have said, really does a great job of capturing Halloween vibes in October and fall and everything. Gonna give this one 4 stars. Highly recommend it if you somehow haven't seen it. I heard the 4K release was really good. I don't know if I'll upgrade to it or not, but I thought the Blu-ray looked pretty good. So happy to have that one in the collection. Like I said, giving it 4 stars. Another one I watched with my wife, which I remember really liking this. Watched it in high school or college, probably. Yeah, definitely college. I think I watched all of the Mel Brooks ones around that time. So we got Young Frankenstein, which is Mel Brooks' telling of Frankenstein, with Gene Wilder, Cloris Leachman, Peter Boyle, Marty Feldman, Terry Garr. And it wasn't as funny as I remember, but she wasn't really into it, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I still thought the scene, so it's basically like a Frankenstein story, but it's more funny. The scene where he goes, where Peter Boyle's Frankenstein, and he goes into a priest house who's blind. That scene still made me really laugh a lot. But it wasn't near as funny as I remember, so I'm just going to give it 2 stars. I don't know if I need to revisit it around someone else who has that type of humor or what. But yeah. All right. Next up, with my wife as well. First time watch for me. Friend of the show, Cody's a big fan of this one. We got Hugh Jackman, Kate Beckinsale, and Van Helsing. And we both liked this one a lot. I really enjoyed it. I didn't realize that. It's from the director of The Mummy and The Mummy Returns. And it does kind of, it feels similar to that. They're both Universal movies. So legendary monster hunter Van Helsing, played by Hugh Jackman, must rely on the help of a beautiful and mysterious Anna Valeris, played by Kate Beckinsale, as he engages in an epic battle with the ultimate forces of darkness, Dracula, the Wolfman, and Frankenstein's monster. Yeah, I thought this was a lot of fun, a little cheesy, but really enjoyable. Giving it 3 stars. Definitely plan on keeping that one in the collection. All right, so next up, so when I got together with Cody, we watched The Slumber Party Massacre. So it follows a group of high school, probably students. It follows a group of girls basketball players, and one of the players, their parents, go out of town. So the one has a slumber party at her house, invites her friends over, and there's a killer on the loose, and he starts attacking them, kind of, and he was weird. This movie I did not really like. I'm giving it 1.5. That might even be generous. Definitely don't plan on watching it again. So yeah, and then after that we watched Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the 1941 version, which has a Warner Archive release, starring Spencer Tracy, Ingrid Bergman, and Lana Turner. They're typical Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde telling, but I thought the acting was really well done. This one, it's a little different, where you think of Mr. Hyde, not as much of a monster, well, still a monster, but a different kind of monster than some of the newer versions. But the acting was really well done. This was one of my favorite watches probably of October, and I do probably plan on trying to pick up that Warner Archive release at some time. But I had a lot of fun really watching that one and giving it 4 stars. Next up, we watched Ready or Not. I've recently found out this is worth some money, but I really like this one too. So directed by Matt Bellantino Alapin and Tyler Gillett, starring Samara Weaving. When a young bride, played by Samara Weaving, marries into a ridiculously rich and delightful deranged family, her wedding night becomes her worst nightmare. She's forced to play a lethal game of hide and seek and must fight to stay alive. Co-starring Adam Brody, Mark O'Brien, Henry Cinneri, and Andy McDowell. Ready or Not is a wicked comedy thrill that elevates the phrase "till death do us part" to shocking new heights. I thought this was a really neat premise, really well done, really good movie. Giving that one 3.5 stars, and I do plan on keeping it even though it's worth some money. And then the next morning we watched The Final Girls, which it does have a release. It's kind of like a spoof of sorts on Friday the 13th. It starts out with showing some clips of a mother and daughter, and the mother's in a car accident and doesn't make it, and so the daughter has to grow up with her aunt or something, and she's now in high school, and they're doing a showing of this movie that her mom was in that's basically Friday the 13th, and she was one of the final girls in the movie. So she gets talked to going into the screening of the movie, and watching it, and her and her mom are really close, and something happens and they get thrown into the movie, and from there it kind of becomes like a Groundhog Day type of thing, and it was fun. There were some memorable or notable actors and people I recognized in it. I was hoping it was going to be a little better than it was, so I'm going to give it 2.5 stars. Next up, by myself, I watched Renfield, the Nicolas Cage one where he plays Dracula, and it follows Renfield, who is like the servant to Dracula and does whatever Dracula wants. Didn't think this was too great. Thought Cage was pretty good as Dracula, but he's not in it as much as you would hope. It was fine, just pretty forgettable. Just going to give it 2 stars. And then the next day I watched Werewolves Within, another one I watched by myself. I think another channel recommended this one, and I thought it was okay. It follows it follows a park ranger, and he gets moved to this town where there's something going on, and somehow somebody dies, and then they find out it's a werewolf, and it's a really small town in a cold setting. They all end up in this like bed and breakfast type setting, and they try to figure out who the werewolf is. Pretty predictable, just okay, giving it 2 stars as well. And next up, also by myself, I watched Frankenstein 1970. This has a Warner Archive release, I believe, as well. Another just different telling of Frankenstein that I didn't think was very good at all. Just going to give that one 1.5 stars. Glad I don't have a copy of it. And then I'm going to wrap up here with number 15 in the month and do 16 for part 2 of this video. So lastly, for part 1 here, I watched the first Zombieland in hopes of watching the second, because so I watched the first one with my wife. She had never seen it before. I remember liking it quite a bit, and I never watched the second, which some of you mentioned that it wasn't very good, but I do kind of want to watch it just so I can get it knocked off the watch list. But so nerdy college student Columbus, played by Jesse Eisenberg, has survived the plague that has turned mankind into flesh-devouring zombies because he's scared of just about everything. Gun-toting, Twinkie-loving Tallahassee, played by Woody Harrelson, has no fears. Together they are about to stare down their most horrifying challenge yet, each other's company. Emma Stone and Abigail Breslin co-star in this double-hitting, head-smashing comedy. And this one held up really well as well. Thought it was really funny, really enjoyed the revisit, and my wife liked this one quite a bit too. So my favorites of part 1 are The Faculty, The Covenant, Sleepy Hollow, Van Helsing, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Ready or Not, and Zombieland. So yeah, I'm giving Zombieland 3.5, by the way. So yeah, hope you enjoyed part 1. Hope you stick around and watch part 2. Like I said, I really enjoyed watching all these movies this month. And yeah, please subscribe if you haven't. This is Physical Media Man signing off. Physical Media will never die. Physical Media Man. Physical Media Man. Physical Media Man. Yeah!